Welcome to the Books, Life, and Shenanigans podcast with your host, Amanda Bird. Welcome back to the Books, Life, and Shenanigans podcast. As you can see, we have a tiny guest here. She refuses to leave. So hopefully she'll just hang out and behave herself. And if not, it's going to be fun. Yeah. So on today's episode, for books, right, there's the forever dry hands, the forever debate of pantsing, also known as discovery writing, versus plotting, also known as outlining. I have very strong beliefs on these things, and that's because I'm not an outliner. I am 100% a pantser. So do I actually wear pants? I don't know. Sometimes. Sometimes I wear shorts. I'm kidding. Pantsing, writing by the seat of your pants. That's why it's called pantsing, which is quite literally what I do. I research as I write because I don't always know. Like, do I have notes? Yes, 100% I have notes. Bless you. I have notes. I do not see the point in wasting what could be word count that may or may not be deleted by my editor, because let's face it, that's what they do. They're like, hey, bitch, cut this out because it sounds like shit. Or, hey, move this somewhere. Or, hey, hold on to this for a future book. Or sometimes it's the dreaded get rid of it, pretend it never existed. Those things happen. And there's no way around it. There's no way to know until it's been edited, until your editor gets their hands on it. Great. Your betas could, like, your editor could let it go, and your betas could be like, oh, bitch, no, that's gotta go. It's terrible. Like, this doesn't fit into the story, and it confuses me. And like, you have to take all of that feedback into account. Now, I have some very, very good friends who are outliners, and they will write 10,000 word outlines. As I just stated, I think that's a big old waste. I know what needs to be included in each book. I know my overall series arcs. I know, certain points that need to happen. How I'm going to get there is going to happen as I'm writing it. Research is going to happen as I write it. So here's my process, because this is what works for me. No two processes are the same. This is a disclaimer here. No two processes are the same. No two writers are going to tell you that they write the exact same way and their process is the exact same thing and it works out really friggin' well for them, because that's just not the case. We're all different people. Our writing styles, the way that we write, our writing processes they're unique to all of us. Hell, I know people who will research the whole freaking series before they start book one. Nah, man, ain't me. But that's just me, because that doesn't work for me. Also, by the way, if you are watching the YouTube version, you can see that I fixed my glasses. Sorry, I'm really excited about this. Loctite, waterproof gel super glue kind of thing. Whatever it is in the blue bottle, shit works wonders. Okay, so my process is this. I write sort of Pomodoro, only it's 20-minute sprints with a 10-minute break in between. Now, if I can write for, say, 2 hours, right? So that's 4 writing sprints and 4 breaks. That puts me, my average is about 2,000 words a day when I'm really on it and I don't have a whole lot of research to do. Sometimes I can get the research done really quick and I'm still at about 2,000 words a day. 2,000 is my average. I average about 10,000 a week as long as I'm writing 5 days a week. Have I been writing 5 days a week? No. Matter of fact, according to this writing tracker I have here, the last day I wrote was in March, and I was going through some heavy shit in the decision-making world of my personal life, which I will get into in the life section. And it just wasn't there. It wasn't there. Like, I knew there were words that needed to come out, but it wasn't that 2,000 word count. I got distracted a lot. There were a lot of just different things going on, especially with where the 13 Reasons for Murder series currently sits. There are there are some things that, the character needs to get out. Brittany needs to get these things out. And anybody who tells you that they don't put some aspect of themselves into at least one of their characters, they're full of shit. Like, you can go listen to Writer Dojo. You can go listen to a bunch of other podcasts. There was something else I recently read. We put pieces of ourselves into, it was probably Better Faster by Becca Syme, the Facebook page. I think it was a post by her. We pour ourselves into our work. It's not just la-di-da, I did this thing and now it's gone. It's la-di-da, I did this thing is part of me and now it's gone. There's one, maybe, person that I know of who might be able to do that. But our books are like our children. Some of us are more attached to them than others, meaning some of us are more attached to our books than others of us are attached to our books. Me specifically, I am slightly more attached to the 13 Reasons for Murder series than I am my Serial Women of History series. Maybe because that was my first book. Maybe that's because Brittany Cage is a lot like me. I'm not a serial killer, but she is. I am not a CEO. I was never a CEO at the age of like 20 something. Like, no. So she kind of sort of comes from like a privileged background. She's a serial killer. She's really smart. She's so good. She's such a great narcissist to the point that she can make connections with some of the top people in the city of Tampa. And these people adore her. Adore her. Nobody knows what goes on behind closed doors until certain people start stepping into her life. Like, even those that she calls her best friends, they don't know. They have no idea. So pantsing versus plotting is, I write and the words just come out. They're just there. Sometimes I'll sit there and think like, oh shit, now where do I go? The other part of my process is something I learned from Craig Martell, where I will go back over the previous day's words. I will edit those. Those don't count toward my sprints because I'm not writing. But it also helps, it helps me tighten up the words, and it also helps me get back into the world so that I can, in fact, keep going with what I'm trying to do, with the story I'm trying to tell. So yeah, I'm a big pantser, and the question is always, 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 every convention, every panel, every time somebody finds out if you're a writer and they're somewhat even remotely into the world of writing, hey, are you a pantser or are you a plotter? I'm not quite a plotter. I'm a noter, but I'm a pantser. So to wear pants or not is the big question. I've got a friend who writes nonfiction, and these stories are so ingrained into his head. Yes, Mark, I'm talking about you. These stories are so ingrained into his head, he doesn't actually plot. He will not outline his nonfiction books. He will write these stories from memory. Like, it's crazy, and I love it. Now, granted, he does have some notes, but I've never heard until I met Mark of a nonfiction writer who doesn't plot it out. There's a nonfiction writer I met a few weeks ago. She was telling me that she will outline and outline and outline and outline until she's like, all right, just get the words on the page. Because there's only so much you can outline, right? There's only so many topics you want to cover per book. And, so it's different for fiction versus nonfiction. Like I've said, I have friends who will 10,000 word outlines for, like an 80,000 word book, 90,000 word book. That's almost 10% of a word count right there. Like, I don't know. That's just not me. That's not the way my brain works. There is no way that will ever be correct. If someone tells you your way of writing is incorrect, take that with like 10 pounds of salt, because here's the key acronym, verbiage, whatever, that pertains to being an author. And that is YMMV. Your mileage may vary. Whether that's marketing, whether that's plotting, whether that's pantsing, research, learning, whatever the case may be, your mileage, it's not your mileage may vary, it's your mileage will vary. You are not me. I am not Anne Rice. None of us are Sarah, what the fuck is her name from Twilight? Like, we're not all the same. I'm not J.K. Rowling. Shit, I wish I was. Okay, no, I just wish I had some of her money. But you get what I'm saying, right? We're not all the same. Our brains don't all work the same. Credit to Becca Syme for kind of beating that into my head, with your Better Faster Academy and your strengths for writers and the quick cast and all of that. All of her books that I've read, they will all say in multiple places, none of us are the same. Our strengths are very different. For example, my top 5, and I will 1 through 5: futuristic, developer, restorative, empathy, and analytical. Which is funny because all of these things combined, whether it's my writing world or my personal world, and we're going to get to that in a few minutes, in my writing world, they don't particularly screw me over. In my personal world, holy shit. The more I look back and the more I learn about these 5 traits, the more I realize, jeez, what? Fuck. Like, it's all I got. So with these specifically, when it comes to writing, like futuristic number 1, it's really hard for me to be in the present moment, even while I'm writing, which is probably another reason why I pants. Being in the present moment takes a lot of energy, and that's an expenditure of energy that I am not going to have by the end of the day. And then I have to figure out how to get that energy back. This podcast for me is definitely a way to get that energy back. I can talk to you about different things about books. We can talk about my books. We can talk about other people's books. We can talk about whatever the hell we want book related, and subsequently movie and show related, right? Because it's all kind of one world. It's all entertainment. And a lot of shows and movies wouldn't exist without books, right? Vampire Diaries. I don't know that Supernatural was books before it became a show, but I could go on a Kripke tangent for about 30 minutes. I'm not going to do it, but just know, Eric Kripke, you're awesome. Waiting for season 4 of The Boys, please. But yeah, there's a lot of things that go into it. So when somebody tells you you're wrong for pantsing or you're wrong for plotting, better yet, don't even take it with 10 pounds of salt. Just ignore it. Your process is your process. The way that you write, the way that you get the words onto the paper is yours and yours alone. Is it pieces of tips and tricks and things that other people have said to you throughout the years or throughout the months? Maybe, absolutely. you have cobbled together what works for you. What works for you isn't going to work for me. What works for me isn't going to work for Bob. What works for Bob isn't going to work for Laura. We are all two different people, and it's not your mileage may vary, it's your mileage will vary. So YMWV. It's going to vary. Everybody's different. No two people are the same. None of us have the same thought patterns. None of us have the same thought processes. Sure, we're going to think the same things, but the way our brains work is not the same. It's just not. And you know what? That's awesome. I like that. I like knowing that the way that I write isn't how, my best friend who rocks out to EDM and pumps out 8,000 words in a day works. Sometimes I will catch myself, well, shit, I wish I could pump out 8K in a day. But he is a career writer. This is his living, whereas I have a day job. And even if I didn't have a day job, 8K is beyond, just the thought of it exhausts me. More than happy with 2K a day. Have there been times where I've written 5, 8, 10,000 words in a day? Abso-fucking-lutely. Do I expect them to happen again? No. Do I want them to happen again? Maybe if I had an extended period of time off, because I know how much energy that takes from me that I now have to rebuild. I have to work on getting that back, right? So that's just it's not something I would actually look forward to. Also, I tend to work best on, hey, I promised you this book's going to be out at the end of this month, so, oh, fuck, it's 2 weeks before. Let me get on that. Okay, that's a gross exaggeration, but I have done that. I have. I don't like it because it stresses me out. It stresses out those around me. And honestly, I got enough of that shit going on right now. I don't need to be putting any more on myself. Let's take a break real quick. I have, I've done take 2 of my Kickstarter campaign. Excuse me, the first one I learned a lot from, and I almost decided to end it early, but I was told not to. I was told to just let it go, let it do its thing. It did not fund, which was fine because I knew it wasn't going to, because, well, I posted a meme on Facebook and got the banhammer for 30 days. So I decided I was going to revamp that campaign and relaunch it. So here's the word from our sponsor, which is my Kickstarter campaign that goes live on June 13th. You can actually follow it on Kickstarter right now, kickstarter.com. Search 13 Reasons for Murder and you will find the current print edition campaign. It is for the collection volume 1, paperback and hardcover, Kickstarter exclusive. Print editions will not be available on my website at any conventions, on retailers. They are only available through this Kickstarter. Kickstarter.com, search 13 Reasons for Murder, or just search Amanda Bird. You'll find it. Okay, so on to the life section. I know I said I was going to talk about these things in a minute, and here's where I'm going with all of this. Manipulation. This vies for the number 1 spot in the arsenal of a narcissist. It vies with gaslighting. It's used hand in hand. Gaslighting is manipulation. I'm going to go kind of down memory lane here and give you a very perfect example of manipulation and how narcissists wear their, I hate the word victim, but how they wear you down. He had quit drinking and he was better. He was less manipulative. He was less of a gaslighter. He was less of a dick. And then came a time where we were out in public and, well, I want to drink. Well, I'm not comfortable with you drinking. I'm sorry, babe. I'm just not. The person you turn into when you drink is not great. Well, the person you turn into when you drink isn't great either. You're referring to the person I turn into when I haven't had anything to eat for a day and a half, and then I go on an absolute fucking bender with nothing in my stomach and get blackout drunk. So, no, there's no comparison there, first of all. Second, you have an alcohol problem. I don't. I can say there's days where I ain't gonna drink because I don't want to. You, on the other hand, can't do that. You've never been able to do that. You start drinking and it gets real bad real quick. How many times, that we've been together, have you decided to get yourself so addicted to alcohol that you needed to stop drinking, and it would take you almost a full week to stop shaking, and you should have had medical attention during that detox period? So no, I'm not okay with you drinking. And then it turns into an hour and a half of word salad, beating you down, everything except begging, making you look like the asshole because you don't trust me and you don't support me. The fuck did you just say to me? Did you just say I don't support you? I said I don't support you drinking because you're a fucking piece of shit when you drink. So please don't tell me that I don't support you. Anything else in this world you want to do that is completely acceptable, go fucking do it. You want to make yourself a better man? Go fucking do it. You want to make this world a better place? Go fucking do it. You want to drink and be belligerent and be even more manipulative and gaslighting, just like you're manipulating and gaslighting me right now by telling me that I don't fucking support you? Yes, I stayed. I stayed that night, and I stayed for almost a month later. It was not pretty at all. Like, the rest of the night was basically ruined. I had a drink, he had a drink. They were both beers, but it wasn't. And then he got like manipulative about other things, like, oh, well, don't you think if so-and-so was your friend, they'd have made it a point to come say hi to you? No, no. And that had me second guessing my relationship with this person he was referring to. And this is what they do. They manipulate you and gaslight you into thinking you're the crazy one. They manipulate you and gaslight you into thinking reality is not reality. They will go so far to manipulate you as to say to you, well, that's your perception. You're right. It is my perception. And that you saying that is you denying my perception. You saying that is you telling me that if it's not your perception, it's incorrect. I hate to break it to you, buddy, but perception is just that. Perception. Mine is mine. Yours is yours. Neither are incorrect. Neither are wrong. Now, my perception of you're a piece of shit isn't just my perception there. There are plenty of other people out there who agree with that. I'm trying to do the best I can at not naming people, or even doing anything to remotely be like, oh, is that? No. So I'm just not going to call people out because it's fucked up. It would do terrible things for them and even worse for me, right? So I get nothing out of it. Karma will get these people one way or another. And it's absolutely amazing. The fog that really starts to cover your brain because this is how they talk to you. This is how they treat you. They will manipulate you. Like I said, this particular incident went on for an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, where we were having a discussion over this. The discussion was, over this 2 hours, I don't support him. I don't love him. I hurt his feelings by not supporting him drinking. Meanwhile, everything he's saying to me is throwing my heart into a fucking blender and then some. And I am explaining this to him just like that. You have put my heart in a blender. more than once. I don't even know, like, what exactly you think you're going to get from me. I am not backing down. I am standing my ground. And then they wear on you and they wear on you and they wear on you with that manipulation and gaslight. And that whole episode right there is one big fat fucking manipulation because you give in. You stop standing your ground. You stop respecting your own boundaries. And they know they have pulled over on you. They have gotten over on you again. And this is what they do. They will talk and talk and talk and talk and talk in fucking circles. They will repeat the same things over and over and over again. This is the word salad. They purposely throw you off track so that you don't remember what it is, where you were about to respond, what it was you were going to say. This word salad is another form of manipulation. Like, it's all absolutely insane. And this wasn't the first time this happened with him and I. Like, I cried. It should have been a happy, celebratory day that we were out in public with a bunch of other people, but that's not at all what it turned out to be. And then the manipulation afterwards was so much worse. For 3 hours, I begged him to apologize. For 3 hours. No. Anyone who understands they did wrong and feels bad about hurting your feelings is going to fucking apologize. You're not going to have to beg them to apologize. You're not going to have to explain to them for 3 fucking hours what they did that hurt you so bad. For those 3 hours, I begged, I cried, was gaslit, manipulated, begged and cried some more. It was a vicious cycle until I finally went and slept in a bed in the hotel room by myself. Could not stop crying. And then he came over, hugged me, and apologized. And I said, why was that so fucking hard? For the past 3 hours, we've been going in circles saying the same exact things. You've been manipulating me. You've been gaslighting me. I've been crying, like begging you. And now that I'm sleeping in a bed all by myself, crying my eyes out, now you can apologize? No, sir. And things got better after that. They did, just like any cycle of narcissistic abuse does. It gets better for a little while. It doesn't get better for long. That manipulation will always come back, and it will always come back to bite you in the ass. That gaslighting will always come back to bite you in the ass. You will be the one begging for the apology that should be so simple for them to explain. But here's the thing. Like we last spoke about, narcissism is very, very deeply rooted in severe insecurities. They cannot accept responsibility because of how insecure they are. Because of that, you have to beg for an apology. You should never have to beg for an apology from someone who says they care about you. Do I believe that he loves me? I do. In his own fucked up way, he loves me. Is that how I want to be loved? I'd rather drown or die of asphyxiation. Those are my biggest fears of how to die. I would rather one of those than be loved like that. I actually have a line that I'm going to put into a book. It says, I'd rather be chopped into 10,000 pieces than to spend another minute alone with you. Pretty fucking accurate, right? And this relationship is where that came from. Also, I write serial killers. So, yeah, like it's not, manipulation is not a cool thing. I understand certain forms of manipulation, but in a personal relationship where it's a constant and you're basically, you're being mentally and emotionally abused, and that's not okay. I grew up with that as well. And I did not know, like I said in the very first episode, I didn't know that there was a term for this until about a year ago. So it's absolutely incredible and it's painful. It hurts me to know that all this time I sat there and said, never, 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 never. You don't know never until you've been there. And by then it's too late. You can't stop it. The only way to stop it is to get out. And let me tell you, that trauma bond, that's pretty vicious. It's been quite a few months since I went no contact, and I am still suffering effects of that trauma bond. There are times where I do miss him because I did get to see pieces of his heart, his real heart, what's really inside of him. But the masks they wear, God, those masks are fucking amazing. Absolutely amazing. Like you can't take those off. They have to want to take it off. And sometimes it's not even that they want to take it off. Sometimes they're so drunk and so vulnerable that it just kind of falls off. And that was the experience that I got. He would be so drunk and so vulnerable in so much pain that that mask would just melt. And it's funny because everybody's like, they're liars. That's all they do is lie. Yeah, mine never directly lied to me. He would not tell me things. And then at some point in time, he would tell me. And it was usually about a month after it happened. And it always fucking sucked that I was like, I knew you were going to tell me, but why was it so damn hard? Just open your fucking mouth. Be honest. The problem is, they have a really hard time being honest with themselves. And that is why they can't be honest with you. Mine never cheated on me. Other people who know the situation are like, you're full of shit. You're lying to yourself. No, he didn't cheat on me. I promise you that. If he did, one more thing he fucking got over on me. But he didn't. The thing that he had said to me during that 2 hours of manipulation before the 3 hours of begging for an apology in the hotel room. One of the biggest things he said to me was, I refuse to live my life in fear of alcohol. Nobody said you had to fear it. Just respect it and understand what it does to you when you have too much. And respect the fact that you cannot control yourself. You see this? You see this cocktail right here that I have in my hand? This is my one for the day. Now, granted, it's big. It's a lot of ice, a lot of orange juice, and a little bit of vodka. Why? Because that's what I choose to drink. But I'm not going to sit here and manipulate other people. Not when I'm drunk, not when I'm sober. And I'm sure as shit not going to sit here and say, I don't know where my limit is. Look, buddy, I was a drug addict a really long time ago. And there was one day that I woke up and said, my little brother is never going to know his big sister if I don't fucking stop. And that was the end of it. Cold turkey, no withdrawal symptoms, nothing. Just quit. And there are people who can and will attest to that. But to say something like that is one of the most immature statements there is, right? Like, I'm not going to live my life afraid of this. Okay, well then live your life afraid of yourself and how you behave when you lose the ability to control the use of that substance. I don't understand it. I really don't. Some people are just like, they think they know it all, right? Oh wait, hold on. He does think he knows it all. But the manipulation sucks because there are so many different things involved in that manipulation. Like I said, the gaslighting, the word salad, and all of that combined will wear you down. It will eat you alive. Part of it, sometimes it still eats me alive. Sometimes I get a really nasty case of the SADS because something will play back in my head that he said to me. And I'm like, well, why didn't I just stand up and say whatever? And it's because I love him. And it's not the mask that he put on that I loved. It's what I actually got to see that I loved. The mask, I fucking hated. I have people coming to me now that years ago were like, did you know then? No. Did you? Kind of sort of suspected. Okay. They're like, yeah, like we saw this, we didn't trust him, we didn't da 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 da. And I'm like, well, that's funny because in his mind, he's a god for you. And they're like, yeah, no, that's the furthest thing from the truth. So, sorry, throat's a little dry. So yeah, like these people they're not just toxic. And then they'll sit there and say 1 minute, yeah, let's get some therapy, but we're going to do therapy my way. If you've ever been to therapy before and you try to tell a therapist that you're going to do therapy your way and not theirs, they gonna laugh you clear out of their office. I tried that. I think I was like 12. There's been a lot of trauma in my life. I tried that and it did not go over very well at all. And there are some forms of therapy that work better for other people than they do for others. Like I've got one I would like to explore called acceptance and commitment therapy. I think that would be the most beneficial therapy for me. Won't know until I try it. So here's hoping that I can get into it at some point relatively soon because that's something I'm eager to begin. Yeah, so that story is manipulation kind of in a nutshell. I've got plenty of other things to get into, and this narcissism thing is going to continue for quite a few episodes. I may kind of steer off of narcissism to go through other life things like burnout, which is where I'm at right now, which is actually probably what I'm going to talk about on next week's episode because burnout is a real thing, and holy shit, does it suck. This is the second time in 5 years that I've been there, and I fucking hate it. I would not wish it on my worst enemy. No, I wouldn't wish anything on my worst enemy, honestly. I would wish karma on my worst enemy because, let's face it, karma is going to hurt you more than I ever possibly could.
This has been the Books, Life, and Shenanigans podcast with Amanda Bird. Song credit, audionautics.com. Intro action, AUDIONAUTIX.com. And if you'd like to support this podcast, head over to substack.com/@Books, Life, and Shenanigans.